Hello, hello, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chit Chat with T. Tonight we have a little special edition tonight. Coach Michelle is going to read an excerpt from my new that I've been working on. And if Michelle can slide a little, you will be able to see the title of it. It's the Crescent the Crescent Noir Files. I mean, all the words together. This is the first of many, but it's a series of three. It's about an African American detective that's working out of New Orleans. If you see on the picture, there's two gentlemen. One with the hair is Lance, and the other is Jack. They're both her love interests. And as you read the book, you will see why. And only thing I'm going to say, you sit back for the first chapter. It's PG, but I'm not going to say later down the line with the other chapters, it will be. We all adults here. So enjoy.
All right. So let me go ahead and pull this up. And is the music too loud before I start? Or is
That's
it just
fine
right?
with me.
Okay.
No, good here.
That's going to blend into what you're reading. So, yeah.
All right. So, chapter one, Blood on Bourbon Street. The French Quarter never slept, but tonight it whispered, like the city itself was trying to keep something buried. Detective Sienna Alexandria Remy DeVoe stepped out of her midnight black charger, red bottom stilettos clicking against rain, slick cobblestones on Royal Street. The sound carried in the narrow alley, sharp, deliberate, impossible to miss. Her Creole gold bangles chimed softly as she adjusted the hem of her tailored black suit jacket. She slipped the elastic from her wrist and pulled her hair into a low ponytail, neat and controlled. Here we go again, she thought. Can it ever just be one night without violence? Jazz drifted in from Bourbon Street, muted by distance, warped into something that sounded more like memory than celebration. The air was heavy with rain and heat, the kind that clung to skin and made secrets feel close. Yellow crime scene tape fluttered in the damp breeze, stretched across the entrance of a converted loft above a row of upscale boutiques. Beyond it, floor to ceiling windows reflected rotating patrol lights, turning the glass into fractured mirrors. The place was built for wealth and anonymity, luxury without roots. Now it was a monument to violence. What do we have, Rodriguez? Sienna's voice came out calm and precise, with authority, without effort. Detective Consuelo Connie Rodriguez looked up from her notepad. She was young, but her eyes didn't look it tonight. Victim is Margot Sinclair, Rodriguez said, 32, CEO of Bayou Noir, Crescent Tech Solutions. Neighbor reported a disturbance around 10, said it sounded like furniture being overturned. No signs of forced entry, but the place is trashed. Sienna nodded, already sorting the pieces. No forced entry meant trust, or permission, or planning. Her golden hazel eyes swept the scene with practiced efficiency. Her face stayed composed, unreadable. She'd learned long ago that stillness made people talk. The French Quarter was built on secrets. Tonight, one of them had bled out. She ducked beneath the tape and moved toward the entrance, heels steady despite the slick stone beneath her. That was when the air shifted, subtle, instinctive. The kind of change you felt before you understood it. She felt him before she saw him. A figure separated from the shadows near a wrought iron balcony above. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the quiet economy of someone who understood danger as a language. Sienna's spine stiffened. Recognition settled in her bones before her mind caught up. Jules Jacques Boudreaux. The name left her mouth like both a prayer and a curse. He descended the exterior staircase slowly, deliberately. His head was clean shaven, the hard lines of his skull catching the light. A close-trimmed beard framed, a jaw set with purpose. And when his onyx eyes found hers, they held the stillness of a man who'd survived too much to waste motion. His black suit was immaculate, despite the hour. Sleeves rolled to reveal forearms marked with old scars and newer ink. A faint scar traced his temple, pale against his skin. Detective DeVoe, he said. Velvet over steel. Familiar. Dangerous. I was wondering when you'd arrive. 6 years. 6 years since their last case. 6 years since she'd walked away from whatever they'd been building in the dark spaces between duty and desire. Time was supposed to dull edges, soften feelings, make people easier to forget. But nothing about Jax looked softened. He still held her gaze like she was both salvation and damnation. Like he could see the woman beneath the suit, beneath the control, beneath the armor. This wasn't just another body. Not tonight, not here, and not with Jules Boudreaux standing in her shadows again. Some reunions were written in blood. Others lived in the space between heartbeats. What are you doing here, Jax? Her voice cut clean, professional, controlled. But her eyes gave away just enough for someone who knew her too well. He stepped closer, measured and unhurried. Jax never rushed. He understood space, how to close it, how to own it. Miss Sinclair hired my security firm 3 weeks ago, he said. She said she was receiving threats. A smirk touched his mouth, the one that used to make her forget her own name. Guess I didn't keep her safe. The words hung between them. Jules didn't fail. Not in the military, not in the shadows he'd learned to navigate, and not when it came to protecting what mattered to him. Which meant Margot Sinclair's death was more complicated than it looked. Or Jax was playing a game with rules only he understood. Sienna steadied her breathing. Threats from whom? She stepped closer. Too close. Close enough to catch that familiar scent again. Sandalwood and something darker. Expensive. The kind of smell that pulled memory to the surface without asking permission. That's what we need to find out, he said, voice dropping into that intimate register he used when he wanted her attention. Together. Before she could answer, expensive leather shoes clicked against the cobblestones and cut through the moment. Sienna turned. A man approached from the direction of Jackson Square, tall, impeccably dressed, moving with the confidence of someone used to commanding rooms and bending outcomes. Lawrence Lance Pierce. former assistant district attorney, current political power player, and the man who had once promised her forever before choosing ambition over love. His mahogany skin caught the streetlight, warm and polished. His three-piece suit was perfectly tailored, pockets square folded with surgical precision. Even at this hour, he looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Sienna. Lance's voice was warm. Honey over broken glass. Familiar, intimate, and dangerous. I heard about the incident, he said. Terrible for business. Jack's posture shifted, barely. Shoulders squared, jaw tightened. The temperature in the alley dropped as the two men assessed each other with the quiet caution of predators sharing territory. Sienna stood between them, aware of the body behind the tape, and wondered, briefly, irrationally, why both of them had re-entered her life at the same time. At this crime scene, Lance, her greeting stayed neutral, but her pulse tightened. What brings you to a crime scene at midnight? Miss Sinclair was involved in a new tech initiative I'm spearheading for the city, he said. We had a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. His brown eyes held hers long enough to stir old memories. Stolen kisses in courthouse corridors, promises whispered too close to her throat. I wanted to make sure this investigation gets the attention it deserves. 3 people, years of history, and 1 dead woman. Secrets that ran deeper than the Mississippi as it curved around their city. Sometimes a protective embrace, sometimes a noose. Sienna felt a shift deep in her bones. Things were about to get interesting. Names we carry. Names were armor and vulnerability. Shields and weapons, depending on who spoke them. The precinct at 3 a.m. was a different creature than it was during the day. Fluorescent lights hummed over empty desks and abandoned cups of cold coffee, casting harsh shadows that made even familiar corners feel foreign. The building felt hollow at this hour, stripped of noise and bravado, leaving only truth and exhaustion. Detective Sienna DeVoe sat at her desk, case files spread before her like warnings. Margot Sinclair's life had been reduced to manila folders, financial records, phone logs, security footage, and witness statements. Everything labeled, everything neat. And yet, the woman herself remained an enigma. Sienna tried to focus, but her mind refused to stay anchored. 2 men, 2 ghosts from different chapters of her life, both standing back in her present like they'd never left. Jax had started as a friend, steady, consistent, until one night blurred the line and neither of them bothered to redraw it. Loving him had been easy. Losing him hadn't. His work turned darker, more dangerous, and she started seeing less of him and more of the worn leather duffel bag he left behind, like a promise he couldn't keep. Then there was Lance. Lance arrived after Jax disappeared, calm, intentional, offering stability where chaos had lived too long. He made her feel chosen, seen, first priority. They'd been engaged once, briefly, until his ambition outweighed their future. When he left the DA's office for the private sector, something between them shifted. They backed into civility, into friendship. But love didn't always listen to logic. If Jax and Lance had been one person, she thought bitterly, she might have been home. The elevator chimed softly. She didn't look up at first. She didn't need to. Lance Pierce moved through the bullpen with the quiet confidence of a man who belongs anywhere he stood. His suit still immaculate despite the hour. Working late, Detective DeVoe? His voice carried the familiar warmth, the same tone he once used to whisper her name in the dark of his Garden District apartment. She looked up then, noting how he used her professional name, deliberate, careful. The case won't solve itself, Lance, she said evenly. What brings you here? He settled into the chair from across from her desk, crossing one leg over the other with practiced ease. I've been thinking about what you said at the scene, he began, about Margot's involvement in the initiative. And Sienna leaned back, slightly studying him. Lance Pierce was a master at hiding his thoughts, but she'd once known him well enough to catch the smallest shifts. There were concerns about her company's data security, he said. Questions about whether Bayou Noir Crescent Tech Solutions was equipped to handle how sensitive the city's overhaul would be. He paused, eyes steady on hers. I may have moved too fast recommending her. The admission landed heavy. Lance Pierce didn't move fast. Every step was measured, every word chosen, which meant either Margot's death had rattled him or he was playing a deeper game. Who else knew about those concerns? Sienna asked. The detective and her taking over. Before Lance could answer, the stairwell door clanged open. Jax appeared like he'd been poured out of the shadow, moving with quiet, predatory grace that made him hardened men step aside without realizing why. His eyes took in the room in a heartbeat. Lance in his tailored suit, Sienna surrounded by files, the intimacy of the nearly empty precinct. Something sharp flickered across his face before settling into the mask he wore like armor. Alex. The name fell from his lips like a confession. Intimate. Possessive. Lance's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Sienna felt the familiar flutter in her chest at the sound of it. The name that belonged only to him. The one he used when he wanted to remind her he still knew where to reach. Jax, she replied, neutral, even as her pulse betrayed her. Lance stood slowly, his politician's smile never wavering. Mr. Boudreaux, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I go where Alex needs me, Jax said. The words carried weight far beyond professional obligation. His eyes didn't leave Sienna's face, as if Lance Pierce were nothing more than background noise. Sienna shifted closer to her desk, deliberately breaking the charged line between her and Jax. The air between the two men thickened, sharp with history and rivalry and everything neither one of them wanted to name out loud. I should go, Lance finally said, straightening his tie. Sienna, if you need anything, you know how to reach. He moved toward the elevator, pausing just long enough for his fingers to brush her shoulder. A touch that was both farewell and reminder. When the door slid shut, the silence left behind felt loud. Jax moved to the window, staring out over the city sprawled below. Lights, shadows, secrets layered on top of each other. He watched as Lance crossed the street and drove off. He still wants you, Jack said quietly. No accusation, just Lance wants a lot of things, she replied, stepping beside him. That doesn't mean he gets them. Jax turned to face her. Under fluorescent light, she could see the exhaustion at the edges of the scars that told the story of a life lived too close to danger. And what do you want, Alex? He asked. The question hung there, heavy, careful, dangerous. For a second, she wanted to close the space between them and let him undo her with nothing but his hands and that voice. But it was just a name. And names carried the weight of entire worlds. Some truths were too dangerous to say all out, even here. Because the truth was simple. Jax's world didn't let people go, and he would never stay. For more on this book, you gotta holler at Mama T.
All right.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Well,
yes,
well,
yes,
well.
yes. And that was the perfect song for the ending. I want you to know that. Because if you listen to the words to the song that was playing, it was around the murder. And she was sitting there, and a part of the song was like, all Margot's files are sitting here on my desk. And then I'm like, that couldn't have been better timing. So, what should I say? Of course.
You did a great job. Well, I'm not surprised. You did an awesome job. I can't wait until when is your release?
I am looking forward to beginning of March.
Oh,
Yeah. So
congratulations.
thank you. I have to right now. Book one is completed. Completed.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take it and put it in Lulu and get the right parameters and everything. So that's what I'm going to be working on all this week. Book two has one chapter left, and about time book one comes out, book two should be hitting Lulu, so you can keep going. But people have I have given people excerpts of this book, and it it's really a love story, a thriller, all aired together. They have the main story is about those three, but they have a supporting cast that's just as wild as those three are. But they make a family, and there's nothing that anybody can say or do that will break that family. Um, in book two, you will find one is mainly about the book two. You will find the family part. Book three is bringing everybody together for a character's wedding. And at this wedding, because that's going to be the last for the series, at this wedding, someone gets engaged and walk off into sunset. Maybe it depends. Because every book, I'm going to leave a cliffhanger. So, you know that. I know I let Lena read portion, and I know I let Bean read a portion. Linda's not here. Would y'all like to discuss about the book um that you read? Either one of you?
Yeah, sure. So the excerpt that you sent me reminded me of one of my favorite authors.
Eric Jerome Dickey. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but I've read all of his books with maybe the exception of one or two. So the excerpt that you sent me reminded me of the versatility in his writing. So it was very reminiscent of his storytelling and the way he describes and goes into the characters and all that. So I'm highly anticipating the release of all the books. So bring them on because I'm ready.
Mhm.
Well, the the excerpt that I read was very intriguing. It had a lot of it kept you guessing. Of course, she did leave a cliffhanger with this one, so I suspect that's where all her books are going to proceed. But the in the short excerpt, it gave a lot of character development. There was a lot of suspense, a lot of tension. It's very well written. It's not a boring read by any chance.
Okay. Mhm. Question?
I don't have a question, but I have a remark.
Oh Lord, here we go.
No, no, stop it. Um, so this is actually my first time even reading a piece of the book. Um, I want more. I want more. This is really, really good. Um, I like the buildup of the characters. Um, letting them know exactly there's a history and it makes you want more to know about their history. Like I always tell y'all, people just naturally nosy. And right now I want to be nosy. I want to read the rest of this book. Uh
Character build that I sent you are the three of them. That's
hmm,
what I gave it. You know, in the PDF, the character build of each of them. You can share that.
okay. All right. So let me go ahead and go back to it really quick. 1 second. All right. So when it comes to
Share the
Jewel,
screen. Share the screen.
okay. I didn't know you wanted me to share the PDF.
Yeah, so that's going to be in the book anyway, so it's nothing.
Okay. I wasn't sure. You wasn't gonna
Yeah,
pick me out.
that's why I gave it to you. Whatever I gave to you is for the share.
Cool, cool, cool. Alrighty. So,
You're not sharing. I don't know what you're sharing. Oh, there
mm-mm.
you go.
It's up now.
Yeah,
Alrighty. So, as you guys know, we're talking about the Crescent Noir Files, book one. And let me go down. So, let's talk about Jax. What exactly? Because this
the
looks like,
players.
oh, good.
It, it
Oh, the
says the
player.
player.
Okay, I see it. I see it. All right. So, Detective Sienna Alexandria, Remy DeVoe. She is disciplined in heels, has a controlled voice, clean posture, and a mind that never stops, measuring what doesn't add up. She's a homicide detective who learned early that panic is a luxury, composure is survival. She doesn't rush her room, she lets the room reveal itself. The pressure around Margot's death forces her into a truth she can't tidy. She's in love with Jackson Lance, and she's not choosing right now. Not because she's playing games, because choosing creates a weakness someone can exploit. Sienna's greatest strength is her instincts. Her greatest risk is that she trusts them even when the system tells her she's too much, too intense, paranoid. She's not paranoid, she's accurate. How she shows up, tailored suits, intentional details, presence that quiets people without raising her voice. What drives her? Justice with teeth, the need to name the truth out loud, a refusal to let her city be sold in pieces. Her private wound, being repeatedly forced to prove what she can already feel in her bones. Her tell, when she goes quiet mid conversation, it's not hesitation. It's her mind replaying the room like a security footage. Core conflict is love versus leverage. She wants safety, but she won't accept captivity disguised as protection. Then we have Jules Jax Boudreaux. Jax is an ex Army intelligence with PTSD and is written into everything he does. The way his eyes track exits, the way he clocks hands before faces, the way his body stays ready even when he's sitting still. His survival tactics aren't swagger, they're hard earned. After the military, he built a life in personal and private security, the kind of work that teaches you one brutal truth. The threat is rarely the loudest person in the room. Jax doesn't talk about what happened to him, but he carries it. Nightmares he doesn't name, silence he refuses to decorate. When he loves, it's protective to the edge of dangerous. He doesn't just want Sienna safe, he wants her untouchable. And that's where his methods can become a problem. Jax's loyalty is real, but it isn't gentle. How he shows up: calm voice, controlled movement, expensive restraint. He's never relaxed, only quieter. What drives him? Protection, redemption, a need to make sure the people he loves doesn't end up as collateral. His private wound. He believes love makes people targets, and he'd rather be hated than responsible for her death. His tell, when he stops moving, he's not calm. He's listening for something everyone else missed. The relationship with Sienna, she's his anchor and his weakness. He calls her Alex because it's a version of her he knew before the job hardened everything. Next, we have Lawrence Lance Pierce. Lance is a public man with private teeth. On paper, he's a consultant working land sales and broker relationships, someone who understands how deals get done and how neighborhoods get rewritten without permission. In truth, his real job is Chief Information Security Officer. High level cyber leadership, security architecture, risk control, and quiet power. Lance doesn't just understand systems, he understands how people behave inside of them. He can look sincere while steering the room, and he can help while still protecting himself. Excuse me. Lance is not a villain, but his protection comes with edges. He buys time through misdirection, containment, strategy. He cares about Sienna deeply, enough to risk himself, but he's scared of whoever holds the rope above him. The more he cares, the more controlling he becomes, because control is the only language he trusts to keep people alive. He shows up polished, composed, magnetic. He looks like the kind of man who never loses. His drive comes from influence, stability, protection through planning, and proving he can outsmart the threat. His private wound, he believes love is safest when it's managed. His tell is when he answers a question too smoothly. He's hiding a second truth behind the first. Relationship with Sienna, unfinished love, deep history, and a rivalry with Jax that isn't just romantic, it's philosophical. Direct force versus controlled power. So,
Well, they are your characters that will be built out within three series.
As my sister would say, girl.
you just wrote a chat, child.
Question for you. What was your inspiration? Or how, no, how did you build the characters? Did you have um, past characters that you enjoyed in mind, or well, how did you create
Okay,
all these people?
I'm a writer. Even none of y'all didn't know, I'm a writer. Um, and I'm always dabbling. This series was actually an audio series that I had in Timeless, but it was more geared to science fiction. But since we're so much in I took it, pulled it back, and made it a romantic thriller. I get my inspiration from Scandal, especially CSI Miami, um, anything like that. My favorite writer was Jackie Collins. Most of you know her sister is Joan Collins. She had an awesome Dynamite series called Lucky Santangelo. I think I really like Lena was saying about reading books and series. She did 10 books in that series. I read about 7. Um, and with doing that, with all of that in my head and knowing how people feel, it just started pouring out. And I just started writing. Like I said, it started off as the audio. And Michelle said she wasn't going to listen to the audio. She said she wanted something tangible. So I said, here she go again, asking the most of me. So I pulled it off, Timeless. And I thought it was going to be an easy drop. Nah, I had to dig deep for than what was on the ones that was on Timeless to bring out the story, to bring out the people. So I hope that answered your question.
I'm satisfied.
Okay. Any more questions?
When's the trailer coming out?
What do you want to get us? He's going next week. So, hey, don't trust me. It was a good time.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. And as my mom knows, as a fellow writer myself, uh, when it comes to books, I actually like feeling the book. Like I liked the actual act of turning the pages. Um, and I can tell already this one is definitely a page turner for sure. It's probably one of those books that I'll read in a day, to be honest.
You're not going to be thick. You're not going to be thick page books. I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe the 6 by 9 size, so you can drop it in your pocketbook.
That's even better. I like travel size.
Yeah. Uh, I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I was going to put them all together, and I'm like, no, they need to be separate because even though it's the same characters and it is the same story trying to find who killed Margot all 3 books. It's just a turn of events that is like, okay, I didn't see that coming. Now I see
Wh-
Rosie over here talking about child.
mhm. What's the timeline for the 3 books? Meaning that um, do they occur like in a decade? It's a, you know,
Mm, mm. Okay. No, I'm not done yet. I'll give you this information. It is done within the timeline for the story itself of the murder is 2025, 2026. Okay. Book two takes you actually to Mardi Gras, which is going on now. Okay, I ain't saying nothing else. Book one is building up the relationship of those three characters to carry you into book two. So it goes all the way back to Katrina and brings it all the way up to 2026. And there's an even little twist in there that goes beyond Katrina to the 40s. Tinker Time Tales. Oh, yeah. Like with everything I do, I I put my heart in it. Um, like I was saying, when this was on Timeless, it came with a soundtrack. Each series came with a soundtrack. Michelle was playing it in the background, the music that I had made. As you go through chapters, the song will pop up that you could press for Suno and listen to the music while you read it. That's how I had it hooked up on Timeless. But as you know, Timeless folded. So it was also a good time to bring my writing to light, just like I did my music. So here I am. Anything else I want to know about the book? Thank you, Dean.
There's nothing more that I want to know. I feel like Dean now. Like this needs to have a whole trailer with it.
Mm-mm.
See,
Yes,
look,
please.
can you see the vision?
Yo,
No, I need
I
some.
can see it from okay. So even though this is my first time reading it, like as she's been processing and building up the story and things like that, like she shared moments with me that's in this book. And I told her, I said, so when you're ready to walk a red carpet, because this is going to be a movie. I'm already claiming that. This
Yes,
listen.
ma'am.
It was playing in my head like that when I was reading
Mhm.
the piece that she gave me. I saw it as clear as day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it reads very well. It takes your mind on a very quick journey, and it's like you are. The writing is so impressive as far as just the details that it 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 bounces around, but it doesn't bounce around in a sporadic way. There's an order. There's a rhyme and a reason. If and even if you're not paying attention, you're being directed as to wait a minute, pay attention. Like, okay, what's that about? That sounds like that's going to be something important later. And then,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
banter between the characters and, just the way the scene is just being painted. Again, I don't read a lot of those type of books, but, you know, for me, for entertainment, it has to capture my attention long enough. And trust me, I read it. I wasn't really looking at anything else. Didn't switch to another screen. I was like, okay, where's this going? And why'd we stop? What was the problem? What don't there's no love here.
Another thing I did with this is yes, it's AI, yes, it's tech, but each individual person has a story that intertwines with this case. It's just not the case we're going to solve, blah, blah, blah. The things that happen within the case also touches the individual's the lifestyle. So it's truly thought out about how I wanted this to go, especially when it comes to a Black woman. You know, we are told, especially we all grown in here, especially with our sexuality, you know, you get you have to be a certain way. And with this book is like she explores her sexuality, but she doesn't use it to harm anybody. She doesn't use it to between Jackson Lance. She doesn't use it to pawn them like you're better here and you're better here, you're better. She doesn't do that. Actually, they worship her and put her first for a change. But you know, as women, we go out and we try to please men all kinds of ways. She sit back, cross her legs, and they bring her champagne and caviar. Okay, that's how I have her built out. But she's not cocky with it because she reciprocates to them how much she loves them as well. So that's what I did with that, with their relationship.
I can't with Lena. You know, Lena, you ain't the only one. Get that notepad ready. Because
You know,
I'm over here scribbling notes as
Listen,
we speak.
I like the sound of that.
because in relationship, and I'm not a relationship specialist, but I did it for 39 years. God bless me. We have a tendency, because my husband used to say this to me all the time. You hear me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm like, I hear you, David. You screaming, I hear you. But then when screaming stops and you sit still, you're like, okay, this is what he really meant. And there's a scene in there where all three of them get into an argument, and she says, "You know what? I'm not dealing with this anymore." And that's when it hits the men, like, "Oh shit, she really ain't dealing with us no more." And they come clean about what hurt them in a relationship with her and what they could have done better in a relationship with her. And she's like, "Well, you gotta prove it. You can say it. You gotta prove it because I'm done." And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, but she bad. And her side, well, her sidekick Rodriguez, hmm, them two sisters together, Lord, they can tear up New Orleans.
I'm here for it.
Yes. I'm laughing. I'm not going crazy, people, because you can't see the chat. I'm laughing at the comments in the chat as I speak about the book, as I talk about the book. Um, and after all three of these are done, we'll see which way I go with something else, you know? But I, I gotta, I'm putting myself on the deadline. I want to get it out by the second, no long later than the second week of March. And the reason why, you guys want to laugh at that, I had fractured my ankle. And today I went and got my boot off. They put on a ear cast. And the doctor sitting there, he's talking about, okay, now, you've been doing it. I have 6 weeks. I said, I had a project where I had to sit down and do. So he said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I said, I'm in AI really heavily. And I said, I wrote a book. He said, you wrote a book? So I pulled out my phone and I showed on the Facebook that I put on inside the group. He says, well, I'll tell you what, when you come back to the doctor's office, I said, well, I'll come back in March the 10th. He says, I want a copy. So that has given me the deadline to get it done and try to get it back by March the 10th. And as a whole month. I don't think it's going to take that long to put it together and put it in Lulu. So don't tempt me with a good time.
We're ready. We're ready.
Okay. I don't know. You just don't know. Mm. It's fun.
That reminds me though, what happened to Kevin? Remember Kevin? Was the girl's name Jasmine? I can't remember. This was so long ago.
Yes, yes,
Can we
yes,
get a
yes, yes.
follow-up to the Kevin story? I mean, ask you for a friend.
Was that the
Okay.
guy with the chicken in the hallway?
Yes. It was something about like a power outage, right? It was raining outside. All I remember is Kevin. Okay, that's what I
because
remember.
because they kept before the power outage, they kept on seeing each other in the hallway, and she thought he was just a
Hmm. They
until
were
she walked
neighbors. Yeah.
right until she walked into his apartment during the power outage, and she was like, "Okay, you got some money here." Because I don't remember what she was doing, but none of my characters are vagabonds. Okay,
Hmm.
um, she had a good job, but by him being dressed the way he was always dressed, she thought maybe he was just a messenger or something like that. It's
Hmm.
still on up on YouTube.
Okay. I mean, I'm not the
So
boss of you or anything, but maybe that can be the next story, you know? Just saying.
do you want me to build that out? Is that what you're asking me?
I mean, it was headed in a good direction, but that's just me though.
You look back on that and see how it ended. I know they ended under the covers. I know, I know that's how they ended it. Oh, Michelle put it up in a chat. I know they okay,
Oh
Lena.
Lord.
So okay, let me get these three out and I'll start building up on Kevin and Jazz because they had a good afternoon until the when the power came back on. I remember the line. When the power came back on, was was this just a mistake or is this something real? Damn, I remember that line.
Hmm. Yeah. See? So just
Yeah.
I was just
Um,
curious.
since I have it pulled up, do you want me to share a little
Go
little
on,
bit of that? Okay.
go on.
So this is part one.
And this is before AI got all good and stuff. Now I can really animate this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mute.
The stormy encounters. The hallway of their apartment building had always been quiet, punctuated by the soft clicks of doors and the occasional echo of footsteps. Jasmine had lived there for a little over a year now, and it was hard not to notice Kevin. They seemed to always pass each other in the hallway. Casual glances, polite nods, a shy smile here or there. He lived 2 doors down, and while their interactions were cordial, there was always a lingering tension, an unspoken curiosity. Tonight, the rain pounded against the windows with a fury. The lights flickered for a moment before everything went black. Jasmine, wearing her favorite silky pajama set, shorts and a cami, that clung to her skin, felt the warmth in the building rising as the air conditioner shut down. With nothing to do but wait out the storm, she peeked out her door. At that exact moment, Kevin's door creaked open, and their eyes met across the dimly lit hallway. For a split second, neither moved. The only sound was the distant rumble of thunder, but something about the flickering candlelight from their apartments made the atmosphere electric. Jasmine, her dark curls loosely falling over her shoulders, took a deep breath and broke the silence with a small, nervous smile. "Hi, I'm Jasmine," she finally said, her voice soft but carrying this in the stillness of the night. Her heart raced, not because of the storm, but because she was finally speaking to the man who had intrigued her for months. Kevin, tall and well-built, with an easygoing demeanor that always drew her attention, smiled back. "Kevin," he replied smoothly, stepping a little farther into the hallway. "Nice to finally meet you, officially." They both chuckled at the timing. Jasmine took a small step forward, feeling the heat in the hallway rise even more. The lack of air conditioning making everything just a little more intimate. Kevin's eyes trailed down to her pajama set for a moment before quickly returning to her face, his polite smile hiding something deeper. "Guess we've been neighbors for a while now," he said, leaning against his doorframe. "Crazy it took a power outage for us to finally talk." "Yeah," Jasmine agreed, biting her lower lip as she moved slightly closer. Maybe the universe thought we needed a nudge. As they continued to talk, the atmosphere between them became warmer, both from the lack of air and from the tension growing in the space. Kevin's deep voice filled the small hallway as they talked about the storm, the building, and everything else that seemed insignificant now. Jasmine was lost in the moment, barely noticing the sweat beginning to cling to her skin. Then, suddenly, a gust of wind slammed her apartment door shut. The sound echoed in the hallway, and Jasmine's eyes widened. "Oh no!" She rushed to her door, tugging at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Locked out. Kevin stepped forward, concern flickering in his eyes. "You locked out?" Jasmine turned, a little embarrassed, nodding. "Yeah, I guess I am." The hallway had to be nearly 90 degrees now, and her silky pajamas were sticking to her skin, making her all the more conscious of Kevin standing close by. His gaze soft yet intense. She could feel the heat radiating off her own body, mingling with the warmth from the storm outside. Kevin hesitated for only a moment before he took a step toward her, his voice low and almost tentative. "Do you want to come in until the power comes back on?" Jasmine looked at him, the words hanging in the air between them, charged with a tension that had been building for months. She didn't know whether it was the storm, the heat, or something more, but everything in her screamed to say yes. With a slow smile, she nodded. "Yeah," she whispered. "I think I'd like that." As she stepped toward him, the storm raged on outside, but the heat inside, between them, was just beginning to rise. To be continued. So that Kevin.
Mm-mm.
Well, you know the voice that was. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about the voice actress? I mean, shoot. Can we get some classes?
Well, you could blame Mama T for that one because when I when I was younger, she taught me how to read with different enunciations, creating different characters.
That's pretty cool.
And so she's like, okay, when it comes to when it comes to say for instance, I'm doing a guy, of course I'm dropping it down. Depending on the tone or the mood of the story, my voice fluctuates. So I mean, I could do a class if y'all want. I mean, that's no problem at all because we don't, one thing that I've noticed and that we don't necessarily realize is when it comes to our voice, it's going to change anyway. When we have general conversations, like me talking to you guys now, I sound nothing like obviously the reading. So my husband teases me it's about tonality, and it really is. Um, Going from exuding your voice to basically resetting it, bringing it down, um, understanding that your voice genuinely can create the moment. It can create the perception that's given. So when it comes to me reading the love stories and um, the intimate moments and things like that, my husband teases me and says I have the quiet storm voice. But how else are you supposed to talk, right? Like, I don't think in an intimate moment you want to be sounding like this all the time, right? So it's literally about manifesting that moment, thinking of that moment, putting yourself in it. Um, for me personally, I've always loved uh, the author Zane. Read tons and just about all her books, actually. And the way that she writes, you can't help but to think of it from a moment of seduction, from a moment of, that intimacy. And when it comes to reading these books, that's where my mind goes to. I'm literally painting the picture in my mind as I'm reading it to you. And I, as crazy as it sounds, I used to not like my voice because I used to think that my voice was too deep for a girl when I was growing up. Um, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that I can kind of use that to my win. Um, I don't overdo it, but I have learned how my tone, how I deliver it is very intentional, so the way that I talk in class, I use a certain type of tone for that. The way that I present when I'm doing a speaking engagement or something like that, I present differently. And then, of course, for in those intimate moments with reading these novels and things like that, is presented differently. So, if you guys want, I could definitely do something in the hub, just talking about how to control your voice. I've always loved acting. I've been in plenty of like little school plays and things like that as a child. So I've had to learn how to enunciate and carry my voice and all those things. Um, but yeah, I I could definitely hold a session where we can sit down and literally practice on our readings. And One thing I've learned about words and your tone, part of it is the art of seduction. You want to basically lure someone in. So if I was to, I could read pretty much a autobiography of somebody, but if I change the tone of my voice, the way that the words come out, you know, oh girl, don't even, I ain't even going there with you. Um, we in front of company. I'll get you later. But uh, I have always loved the art of seduction. I have always written personally um, erotic poetry. I love when, because to me, words, they should caress you. If you're writing something intimate, I think of it as a really sensual back rub type of thing. Um, the words that you use to describe and how you describe it, the actual grammatical punctuations that you use to create those pauses, those moments, helps determine how it's going to be read and how it's going to read off, right? Because as we remember back in school, when you see a comma, a semicolon, um those are your moments to take a pause. So you want to make sure that when you're reading out loud or when you're presenting out loud, that you're very intentional on creating those pauses, creating those moments. You can see even when it comes to speeches that they'll say a line and they'll intentionally stop to allow the audience time to digest what it is they're giving or what it is they're saying. So when it comes to, audiobooks and things like that, it's the same type of practice. You know, if I'm if T is sitting here or anyone is describing a bedroom scene, so for instance, I don't know, I'll just do something off the top of my head. Uh, Let me think. I'll just make up two characters. Um, Max and Cody. We'll use Max and Cody. Max and Cody took a moment. They couldn't resist the moment that they were in. The hearts were pounding against their chest. His touch on her skin felt as gentle as a rose petal tracing every curve. She could feel her body trembling from the inside, and he could feel it too. As he stroked her hair, he could feel his own essence in nature beginning to pulsate, yearning to touch her, to be with her. And at that moment, they could no longer hold it. They had to unite and become one. So, those, depending on what you're reading and how you want it presented, is pretty much how you relate.
And that's funny you say that because while you were doing it, I had pulled up. I actually took the structure of the men in her, but mainly the men as I wrote. I did use Chatty, but as I wrote, I told Chatty, do me a favor because I don't want when she shares herself with both men, not throughout the book. I don't want them to have the same love, the same kind of love, the same kind of tenderness. So, what I got from that by using their personalities and using the way when they're not intimate, how they talk with her and around her. Lance is more of a energy, soul, memory, ache, healing, emotional exposure person. His tone with her is always open, guarded, emotional, and wholeness. Damn. And if you look at him, you can see all of that inside of him. Whereas Jax, he's more a balanced emotional person, layered, but his tone with her is entirely different. It's the tension that he pulls out in their relationship. It's the awareness. It's the harmony. It's the shared emotion. So as I write these things about them with her, where with Lance, I don't want, I'm not going to say the mothering, but with Lance is that I feel safe with you. I feel comfortable with you. But when she's with Jax, it's like the temptress, the lioness. Let's let her rip kind of thing. But they're both happy with that, and she's happy. So, and it's not like I don't want to give away too much. It's not like she's being used between these two because she isn't, because this, as like I was going back before, she's a woman and this is her choice. And it's what she chose to do. So it's that. I'm done.
Yes.
It sounds like a writing workshop. I'm
If
just
you guys
saying.
want to do it, we can do that.
Yeah, that's definitely up me and T's alley for sure. For sure.
And what actually gave me confirmation and alignment is last week when TRM had the young lady on there talking about creating stories, romantic stories, creating intimate scenes and selling right here. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was confirmation you're headed down the right track. So yeah. I was gonna do a GPT, but it's gotten late. So what I will do, I will make a video of it before I go on TRM on Sunday and drop it in a school and drop it on Harmony. Is there any more questions about writing in general or anything? I think I stunned. Did I stun y'all?
I think the anticipation is very
Yes.
high.
Okay.
But this has been awesome. I'm excited personally myself as well to read the finished version. I told her I will not read it until that physical copy is in my hand so I can go ahead and increase my pages and all those good things. Um, but great job. Awesome job, T. Mama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Super proud of you.
uh, I am on the fence about a couple of things with the book, though. But I'm going to just say this: have an open mind. The sexual scenes are not explicit, and they fit in the right places throughout the story.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, with that, we bid you adieu. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you,
Um,
everyone.
Yeah.
hope you
Good night.
enjoyed as always, and have a great night.
Good night.
Hello.
Night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Good
Thank
night.
you.